Hello student, we go over x1 rational functions, asymptotes, and excluded values. So for this problem, they ask for horizontal asymptote. Um, Asymptote is a line that your graph approaching, okay, approaching, never intersect, but it's approaching. So in this case, we have the horizontal asymptote passing through 6 right here. Okay, I can draw better. Um, Here we go. Let's do it again. Here we go. So this is a horizontal asymptote right here, passing this point. That's a 6. So the function should be y equal 6. So horizontal asymptote start with y. Okay, in this case, y equals 6. So now I put the answer in the box. Okay, so here we go. Y equal 6. All right. The next one, they ask you for vertical asymptote. Okay. Ooh, in this case, it happens to be the y-axis. Okay. But y-axis, we have the function for it. Okay. It's passing the 0 right here. So vertical asymptote in this case, it starts with x. X equals 0. Okay. So vertical asymptote start with x. Horizontal asymptote start with y. Okay. So here I put in the box. Here we go. X equal 0. Submit. Voila. All right. Let's do a couple more of this. Here we go. Vertical asymptote. So let's go and draw it. It should be this line. Here we go. And you can see this line passing through this point, which is number 6. Okay, so vertical asymptote start with x. So x equals 6. So let's put the answer in the box. X equals 6. Alright, voila. Okay, next problem over here, they ask you for horizontal. Okay, so again, horizontal asymptote is a horizontal line that your graph approaching, but never intersect approaching. Okay, so here we go. Let's draw it. Here's your graph approaching. You see that? Approaching. On the right side and then on the left side. Okay, so passing this point happen to be negative 2. All right, so horizontal start with y equal negative 2. Okay, let's put in the answer box. Y equal negative 2. Okay. Ooh, make sure I put negative 2. Submit. All right, here we go. So now let's move to the next level. Here we go. The next level, I'm gonna ask you for horizontal asymptote. Okay. So now take a look over here. Ooh, where is the question about excluded value? Maybe I go back over here and I can see it. All right, I don't see excluded. Okay, so let's see over here. Let's do a couple more of horizontal asymptote in this case. Here we go. So that should be this horizontal line, and you can see it passing through number 3 over here. So the horizontal asymptote is y equal 3. Okay, so go and get my cursor. Y equal 3. Voila. Okay. So now they ask. Now they ask for excluded value. Okay. Excluded value is the same as the vertical asymptote. Okay. So you can see over here, we got the vertical asymptote passing through 2, the point 2. Okay, So you can see the graph, you don't have the graph when x equal 2. So that's why the excluded value is x equal 2 in this case. Okay, so you can see it right here. You don't have the function when x equal 2. Okay, so let's put the answer. X equal 2 will be the excluded value. All right, here we go. So now they ask you for vertical asymptote. Okay. So when they ask you for vertical asymptote or the excluded value, you go to vertical asymptote. All right. So in this case, the vertical asymptote passing through the point right here, which is number 1. Okay. So vertical asymptote in this case should be x equal 1. But if they ask for excluded value, is also x equal 1 in this case. All right. So vertical asymptote. So let me write down. Vertical asymptote. Okay. So it's a graph. It's a vertical line. So x equal 1 in this case. Okay. But if they ask you for the excluded value, that value is also x equal 1. Okay, so I put the answer right here, x equal 1 in this case. Okay, here we go. Next one, they ask for horizontal asymptote. All right. Maybe I can skip to the next problem. Horizontal asymptote right here. It should be y equal 1. All right, right here. Y equal 1. Okay. Y equal 1. All right, I put in the answer. Okay. Now they ask for the excluded value, so let's go to find the vertical asymptote first. It's right here. Okay. Here we go. And it passing through -2 is all right. So the excluded value should be x equal -2. You can see we don't have the graph when x equal -2. So I put the answer x equal -2. Voila. Okay. What else do we do now? Vertical asymptote. Okay, vertical asymptote. So we got this. It's right here. Vertical line passing through in this case is -6. All right, this point right here, -6. So it should be x equal -6. Okay, the vertical asymptote x equal -6. Let's put it in. X equal -6. Voila. Okay. Now they give you the function. They ask you to find horizontal asymptote. Okay. So you can see over here. Okay. On the top, you have no x value. On the bottom, you have the x value, x power 1. So as x getting really big, so this fraction should come out as when x is really big, then, so let's see, right? When x getting really big, okay? So then the y, let me see, let me rewrite over here. Hold on. Okay, you can see right here. Okay, so let's write again. When x is really big, then 1 over x plus 6 should become very small, which is approaching 0. Okay? And then x over 1 over x plus 6 and plus 3 should approaching 3. Approaching 3. So this is horizontal asymptote. Horizontal asymptote. Okay, asymptote. So you can find help by graphing this on desmo.com. Okay, so let's do this over here. I take desmo.com. Here we go, and I graph it in y equal 1 over x plus 6 and then plus 3 outside. All right, so you can see we do have the horizontal asymptote y equal 3 right there. You see it right there? So I can go back over here. It confirm what I said earlier. So y equal 3 is a horizontal asymptote. Okay, here we go. Vertical asymptote. If you want to find vertical asymptote, you go to the denominator. This denominator cannot be equal 0. Okay, in order for the function to exist. So denominator x cannot be equal 0. So therefore, the vertical line x equals 0 is the vertical asymptote. Okay, so the answer I put right here. Vertical asymptote is x equals 0. Okay, x equals 0, vertical asymptote. All right, here we go. What else do we have here? Horizontal asymptote again. Okay, so in this case, let's do it again. So if x getting really big, what happened to this ratio? Okay, if x getting really big, then 1 over x subtract 1 had to, I'm sorry, very big, so I put infinity right here. Okay, this is infinity. Okay, it means very big number, infinity. Okay, so this fraction had to approach 0 because 1 over a very big number subtract 1, it should approach 0. Okay, and then 1 over x subtract 1 plus 7 should approach 7. And this is a horizontal asymptote. Okay, horizontal asymptote. Okay, so I put the answer right here, y equals 7. Okay, here we go. So now, if you want to double check your answer on graphing calculator, you can. Okay, 1 over x subtract 1 and then plus 7. All right, and you can see the horizontal asymptote had to be 7. All right, so let's bring it down. You can see it right there. Okay, this is y equals 7, the horizontal line. It is the horizontal asymptote. Okay, so I submit. All right, let's do a couple more. Ooh, this time they ask for the excluded value. Okay, so the excluded value, you go to denominator. This denominator cannot be equal 0. All right, so I got x subtract 3 cannot be equal 0. So you solve for this. So x cannot be equal 3. How do you solve for this? It's just like you solve your equation, right? I move negative 3 to the right side, so it becomes 3. Okay, so x cannot be equal 3, or x equal 3 is the excluded value. So I put x equal 3 is the excluded value. Okay, so I put right here, x equal 3 is the excluded value. All right, next one, vertical asymptote. Again, so vertical asymptote, I go to denominator. Okay, right here, x plus 8, it cannot be equal 0. All right, so therefore x cannot be equal negative 8. All right, so when you wrap this, x equal negative 8 had to be the vertical asymptote. Okay, so I put it right here, x equal negative A, negative A. All right. So you want to double check with the graph? You can. All right. So negative 4 on top. Here we go. X plus A on the denominator. All right. Plus A. All right. So therefore, we have the vertical asymptote X equal negative A. Here we go. So let's zoom out for you to see. Voila. Right there. You see that? The vertical line X equal negative A is the vertical asymptote. You want me to zoom out a little bit? You can. You see? That is a graph. Okay. So I submit my answer over here. Voila. Okay. We can do a couple more. This time vertical asymptote. So again, if you want to find vertical asymptote or excluded value, you go to the denominator. And this denominator cannot be equal 0. Okay? Cannot be equal 0. Okay, so x plus 1 cannot be equal 0. It means x cannot be equal negative 1. Alright? I should move number 1 to the right side, become negative 1. Okay. So vertical asymptote should be the vertical line x equal negative 1. Because on this line, your graph approaching it, your graph doesn't have the value x equal negative 1. So I go to the box and I put x equal negative 1 is a vertical asymptote. Voila. Excluded value. Let's do it one more time. Excluded value right here. I go to the denominator. So x subtract 3 cannot be equal 0. You solve for this. Negative 3, you move to the right side, become positive 3. Alright? So x cannot be equal negative 3. I'm sorry, x cannot be equal 3, or x equal 3 is the excluded value. So I put it in and then I'm done. Voila. Make sure you put x equal 3 in this case. Voila. All right. Thank you so much for your attention.